Hi everyone, Supermy Sea Sugar. Welcome to my channel. I've just finished this cake for you. It is a tutorial and it is a Woolies Cake Hack. All of the materials that I've used to create this cake has come from Woolies, with the exception of a few smaller items from the $2 shop, but I will list those for you throughout the video, so you can go and purchase them yourself if you wish to make this cake. The cake does have fresh flowers. The fresh flowers are also purchased from Woolies, but please keep in mind that if you are going to recreate this for an event, then the flowers need to go on as late as possible before the occasion. You can't put them on the night before, because for obvious reasons that they won't be alive the next day. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you have any questions, please feel free and let me know. Thank you very much.
Okay, so let's get started. I've laid out most of the items here for you so you can sort of see what they look like. Most of it is, as I said, in fact, all of it's from Woolies, with the exception of a few of those items, such as the raffia and the florist tape and florist wire, has come from the $2 shop. And later on, I do use some sheer ribbon, which is also from the $2 shops, all up around $8 for those items. The other items, such as the bamboo skewers and the board that you can see, actually have also come from Woolies, but I did buy them at a separate time. But the board was $3, I think, for 3 boards, so it's $1 each, and the bamboo skewers were a couple of dollars. So all up, the cake costs around $65, and it feeds roughly 35 to 40 people. So it's really cool for a birthday cake or a small wedding or something like that. So now, I've just whipped up my chocolate ganache here, and for all of you who've not made chocolate ganache before, there is a number of different ways to do it. Look, I'm really not very. I can't say I'm very particular about it. I sort of just tend to use my microwave. I do melt my chocolate to the extent where it's not too hot. So when you're actually still beating it, you can still see some chunks of the chocolate in amongst. So it hasn't fully sort of melted yet. So if you've got it to that stage where it's still warm, has still a few chunks in it, and you beat it and get it quite glossy, that's the temperature we want it at. Um, I use roughly a third cream to two-thirds chocolate. And the reason I do that is so that it sets reasonably solid on the outside of the cake. If you put more cream, you would find that it would be softer. So you can do that if you need to later on or something like that. If you've got some areas you just need to fill in, but typically I do one third. One third cream to two-thirds chocolate. So what we're doing here is we're just putting the chocolate ganache on the cake, and we're putting it on. We're not being overly particular about how it looks. So just getting it on, getting it reasonably smooth so it looks like how it should do. We've now moved to the stage here where we're doing the white chocolate. So what I've done to do the white chocolate panels, I have measured roughly around the side of the cake and the height of the cake. So I know more or less what size chocolate panels I need. Now, the only thing to keep in mind, though, is the panels do overlap. So it's always good to add a little bit more and have an extra 1 to 2 panels there, just in case you find yourself a little bit short. With the white chocolate, again, I just really use my microwave. I melt this a little bit warmer so it doesn't sort of set as quickly as if I was making chocolate ganache. So um, I laid out on a really so wax paper, so it sort of doesn't stick to it. And as you can see, I just used a spatula to smooth it out. So again, nothing overly complicated here, but I do want a little bit of pattern in it. So I have gone through, as you can see, just to make a few lines. I don't want totally flat panels on this cake. It's more of a rustic look. So now what I'm going to do is roughly see what size chocolate I have there in comparison to the cake, which you can't see off to the right. And it's a little too big. So I guess the whole thing with when you're doing chocolate panels, you don't want it too thin so that you can see the chocolate through the panel, and you don't want it too thick that it's like you've got slabs on the cake. So just sort of, I'd probably say 3 mil or something, 3 or 4 mil is probably fine. Um, we're not being really, really particular here. We're just getting roughly the size panels that you need. Now, what I have done that you can't see is I took the tray, I went and put it in the fridge, I let it sit there for 5 minutes until it sets. Take it back out, and it should break reasonably nicely. And you can see here that I'm just lying the panels on top of each other so I can get roughly the same size that I need. Now, I've only shown you 4 panels here. I have done 2 trays, so in fact there were 8 panels. But there was no point in me showing you the same thing over and over again. So you're going to need around 8 panels to do this cake. So again, just 2 trays of what I've just done, and it's around about 1.2 kilos of white chocolate. But in saying that, that did leave me with a little bit left over. So it's just, you better have a little bit more rather than not enough. Once you've got your panels ready, what I then do is actually stand them up against the side of the cake, tilted inwards so they don't fall off. Just to see that I've got them set where I want, because you certainly don't want to find yourself that you've got like 3 close together on one side and then 2 or 3 like wide apart on the other side, and you're going, oh, how am I going to fill the gap? So just line them up so you can see that they're so you can see where they're sitting. And once you're happy with that, what we're going to do is put some melted white chocolate to the back of the panel, and lay it up or press it up against the cake till it sets. Now, keep in mind that your panels aren't totally straight, so that's cool. But make sure that when you overlap one panel on top of the other, that you do have one straight edge that you're seeing. Otherwise, it's just going to look way too wonky. What I've done here, I've stuck all my panels on. I'm happy with the way the panels are sitting, and I'm just going through and taking off any of the uneven sides that I'm not so keen on. So just using my knife to slice it down. With the top of the cake, I don't want it to be it's not square, so we want it to be a little bit rustic, but we still want the top of the panels to look reasonably even. So what you'll see in a minute, I'm just taking off the excess chocolate, and now I'm going to go around and just break off the parts that are sticking up too far. So we don't want it to be smooth and flat and pretty. We do want it a little bit rustic, so let's just take off all the excess pieces that you're not so keen on. Here we go. There's a little bit here. Obviously, I'm having a bit of trouble with, so just breaking it off. But anyway, working my way around. What I would normally do, and you can see on some of the panels, there are some slight gaps there. So what I would normally do with that is I would go in with a little bit of white chocolate later on, and I would actually just fill that in. So we've moved on to our flowers here. So what we're going to do with the flowers is tape our bamboo skewers to the actual flower itself, so that when you're actually putting that into the cake, you're not inserting any flower component or any wire actually into the cake, which is pretty unhygienic. So basically, I tape a bit of the bamboo skewer up against the stem of the flower and wrap it. So I tape it with the wire, hold it on with the wire, and then tape it over with my florist tape. Now, what we're going to do with the flowers here is I always start when I'm doing a floral arrangement with the main flowers. So we put them in first, and then we go around and we put in the filler flowers later on. So at the moment, I'm taping my main roses. I'm putting the one in the middle at the top, which is your highest part of the cake. And then I'm going to go in now, and you'll see quickly that I'll put them all in a minute. Yep, so there you go. So I've put the rest of them in. I've taped them up, taped them to their bamboo skewer, inserted the bamboo skewer into the cake, and I've laid them out to how I would want. Now, what we're going to do now is we're now going to tape together the filler flowers. Now, if you look at any nice floral arrangement, they're not just all sort of one flower stuck around. So we want a nice arrangement. So what I would take here would be a leaf, a white flower, a pink flower, whatever other colors that you're using in your cake, and taping them together in the same way that I have taped the rose. So use your bamboo skewer, tape it to the arrangement with a bit of the wire, tape over the floral tape and insert it into the cake. Once you've filled, so what we're doing now is we're filling gaps. You've got your main flowers, you've filled in your gaps with your filler flowers, and now we're filling further gaps. So we're putting in just a few other small filler flowers through here, just filling those little holes, because what we don't want to have to see is looking in and seeing your cake exposed. So we're just going through filling everything we can. We're making a nice dome shape. Um, Now, I've just got some sheer ribbon and a bit of raffia, because even though I've put in my filler flowers, there's still a few more gaps that I'm not so happy about. So again, we're doing the same thing. We're making some curls. We're taping that with a bit of the wire. We're using our bamboo skewer and then taping that all up and then putting that into the cake. You'll see a little bit later on, if you've got a lot of flowers in, you don't necessarily need to tape this anymore because the flowers would hold this all in shape. Please remember that if you're doing fresh flowers, that you do it the day as close as you can to the event. And edible flowers is what you're going to need to choose, because obviously you've got it on a cake. You don't want people eating something that is going to poison them or cause any reaction. So we're just hanging some ribbon here over the side. We're hanging some raffia over the side of the cake. And because obviously it's a really, really tall cake, it looks a little odd with nothing on the side. So you can either wrap a ribbon around the side of the cake if that's what you prefer, or you can do what I've done here, and I've inserted a few of these pieces of raffia and ribbon, and I'm just hanging it over the sides because I think that looks really attractive. Um, all up, yeah, like I said, the cake was around $65, and I think it was a really successful looking cake that you would probably be proud to show to any family or friends that you've created this. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. I'm certainly happy to help with any questions that you might have. But thank you very much for watching.